Let me ask you about that then, because obviously I intended to ask you this question at some point. So basically, part of the issue is everyone knows that people just saw the headline, which wasn't even correct, Esports News UK. That was not what he said technically. That's just your version of it, truncated for a headline and extra spiced up and sexy, which is like, I'm just retiring, and then that, like, as if that's it, right? And so obviously, yes.
And when you retire, you just like, Shazam,
yeah, exactly.
Like, my work here is done, but you didn't do anything, Richard.
Yes, exactly. The vibe from all the Reddit type people is like, right, that means from that day he was never going to do another thing. Whereas you've made it more like, right, I'm going to wrap up these loose ends. So I wanted to ask you something along these lines, because you've said something earlier that I vibe with. It's what I actually say to people, which is I often say, but I'm actually not in the esports industry. Like, it's literally true, by the way, if people don't know. Who do I work for in the esports industry? I work for myself and with certain companies, and even some of them are tangentially connected to the esports industry. So when I say, especially because I mean like the establishment of esports and what all those big companies and the same, all the arseholes who win the awards, all those people, I'm nothing to do with those people. I'm friends with some of them, but I don't actually consider myself even someone who works there. What I'm doing now is I'm doing content I'm into, which, by the way, is the same content, but I'm going to, I've told people this before, either it'll be through this company, so it'll be like a traditional company, but I'll run it basically, and with other business people, obviously. Or if that doesn't work out and I decide I'm still interested in esports, I'll go the opposite direction. I'll scale way down and I'll become a hermit, and I'll have a Substack, and I'll have a tiny little paywalled community, and you will have to it'll be like trying to join a fucking Buddhist monastery if you want to get into this motherfucker. You don't just walk in the door. We vet you, we check you, you have to go through levels. It'd be like my Discord. I've done that sort of thing there. I've gone totally hardcore. So it'll be one of those two, but it won't be. I will never just be a guy who just works this big event and works for this site.
Hardcore on your Discord, by the way. The way you've called everyone a white name.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I know.
It's so fucking ridiculous. Yeah. It is insane.
It's because I'll totally admit, what I've done with my Discord is a response to the fact that I can't control everything on Twitter. So it's like, I am the god. I am the sort of like Gnostic demiurge of my own Discord, though, where I can, like you say, I can cast you out, I can create tribes, I can battle it. Yeah, exactly. Oh, listen, there's a lot of self-indulgence going on there, of course. But what I was going to ask was this.
Healthy stuff, yeah.
So the question I ask is this. I'm implying, though, as long as I still have an interest for it, I'll still do some esports stuff, right? You've implied you were going to wrap up the big stories, the kids. If, say, whatever timeline you want, in a year, 2 years from now, if Richard Lewis sees something funny happen in esports, or some news comes across his path, oh, this company's doing this, would we still get like a streamed video? If you were doing a stream back then, would you make a video, would you still put it out? How's that going to go? Is eventually all content going to not have the esports theme in at all? Will you put the odd thing out? What's the vibe?
Yeah, I don't know. I really can't say, because it's like, I had a couple of job interviews like recently, and it was to go back to writing about politics. So it's like, do I? By the way, talking about like being jaded with esports, I know a world where that'll cheer me up. The world of online politics. But I had 2 job interviews, and we basically were like, okay, I'll put that in my brain, and we'll see where we end up. There's lots of little things going on with that, because I always keep it real, and so there is a little aspect. The thing someone who's had an audience fears the most of all is like even though I don't give a shit, and I'm probably like just rock bottom, the only thing that could hurt me more would be like if I woke up one day and no one gave a shit about anything I had to say.
Sure.
That point, why do you even exist, I guess? So that's terrifying. And so there's always an aspect of it where, and listen, I'm probably the only guy real enough to say that, but all your favorite broadcast talent feels the same way. Like, what happens when the applause stops? They've all got that anxiety. It's like I was saying earlier, it's why so many of them wade into these online battles. It's like, remember me. So for me, it's like, I want to do things I want to do at any given time. I believe I've earned the right. I certainly think I've earned the right to an opinion on esports. It's entirely possible there would be like a story big enough that it would warrant my attention. I know I keep saying it and keep teasing it. I'm getting like e-sick at this point. I am still going to write up the definitive history of match fixing in NA, and it is going to come out next year. I've already done loads of it. I've transcribed like probably about 100,000 words of interviews. It's a lot of work. So it is going to get put out there. But 2 years down the line, 3 years, I just have to be confident enough that the community I've built are still going to come and watch whatever it is I do because they fuck with me. It's not it's not that I'm an esports person, but you know, it's like I'd be lying if I said it didn't rankle a little bit when like people say like, oh, you know, you're washed, nobody wants you anymore. It's like I could be doing these events right now. I could be like another one of those fucking guys that just lingers too long in the scene. That's meant to be for young people taking all of the jobs, could spend some of the money, get some work done, get some fillers, get some hair plugs, get some light. Oh, I could do all of that. You know what I mean? And still be there and still take the gig. But you know, I've made moral choices, but no one ever says, no one's ever going to credit you for that. People just say, you're irrelevant. Thought you were retiring. And like you say, I never even said that. I said I was going to phase esports out of my life. I mean, and we don't do BTN anymore. That was a massive part of it. Because
true.
The prep and recording of that show was big. I didn't come in on this company with you because I said I didn't think it would be fair where I was mentally because I couldn't give my all to it. And, you know, as we've talked about, again, to keep it real, I've got some issues, you know, that I've talked about publicly, which is fine. And you know, maybe that changes. Maybe you know, because I still want to do the Four Horsemen. I think that has value. We only ever talk about big things on that show. So,
by the way, just as an aside, I even envision if you're up for it, that could even be maybe your one esports thing you still do because it would be. It's a perfectly tailored vehicle for you to just come in every now and then and give you a take.
Yeah, and obviously what I don't want to ever be is the guy that like doesn't really follow esports but talks about it. I don't want to end up being like a fucking unsuccessful Mark Cuban. I can think of nothing worse. So, I mean, you know, yeah, I really can't say. All I know is I've definitely hit a point mentally where it's like I just care about my community. I just care about the people that have like supported me all this time. I care about the people that are there on every YouTube video leaving a positive comment. I care about the people that sit on the Discord and watch me lose my mind at 3 a.m. when the Raiders fucking lose again. I care about the people that like must honestly be giving up so much of their money, you know, to help essentially be a patron of my arts, right? Like, you know, you like Jerky's Mini and the fucking esports legend, you know, but like in my community, I got guys like, you know, I got guys that like as soon as I go live, they're throwing in 10 donated subs, they're throwing in, you know, 50.
Oh, there are some cool fans for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like man, like that's not wasted on me, especially like in this economy and where we all are now. And essentially, you know, there's a part of me that thinks maybe I could like just stream and chill and relax if the community want to come along for it. But the fear will always be that the fans have gaslit me so much into like just thinking everything I did was a waste of time. Like the one thing I read every day is basically you're not like you talk like you've contributed to esports, you would be nothing without esports. And you know, probably like there's some tiny part of my brain that believes that and worries about that.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.